I can speak 9 different languages, my son Marcus announced, and instantly I wished I had never brought him to the office with me. Rashid Kassem burst into thunderous laughter that echoed throughout the luxurious Manhattan penthouse. 9 languages. Ha! The wealthy Arab businessman was clearly enjoying himself. Boy, you struggle with basic English. What nonsense is this? My hands began shaking as I clutched my cleaning equipment. Here I was, after 5 years of scrubbing these floors, 5 years of staying silent and keeping my head down, just to ensure Marcus and his sister had food after their mother left us. Now my 14-year-old was about to ruin everything. Jerome! Rashid shouted, still laughing. What kind of wild stories have you been telling this boy? 9 languages. Does he even know 9 languages exist? I wanted to disappear through the marble floor I'd been cleaning for years. Marcus stood his ground with that old-school backpack, staring directly into Rashid's eyes as if he belonged in that multimillion-dollar office. My deepest apologies, Mr. Kassem, I stuttered, using that submissive tone I'd mastered through years of verbal abuse. My childcare fell through and I couldn't leave him alone. Your excuses don't interest me, Jerome, Rashid interrupted dismissively. You know I have crucial meetings today. The last thing I need is some delusional child disrupting my schedule. He circled Marcus like a predator. So, young genius, which 9 languages? Let me guess, you counted English twice. Perhaps you know hello in Spanish. Marcus, please, I whispered. Just apologize to Mr. Kassem so we can get back to work. But Marcus refused. Instead, he stated with perfect clarity, English, Spanish, French, German, Arabic, Mandarin Chinese, Russian, Italian, and Portuguese. Every language flowed from his lips with such precise pronunciation that it made Rashid pause. Briefly, the amusement disappeared from the billionaire's face. Nonsense, Rashid declared, though I detected doubt in his tone. He returned to his desk. Jerome, your child has serious mental problems. Instead of bringing him to work, schedule him a psychiatrist appointment. Those words hurt because I'd worried about the same thing. Marcus had always been quiet, constantly reading, living in his own world. After working 60 hours a week just to survive, I'd barely had time for real conversations with him. Mr. Kassem, Marcus spoke with unexpected authority. Are you fluent in Arabic? Rashid's eyebrows rose. Obviously I speak Arabic, child. It's my mother tongue. What kind of ridiculous question is that? Then you would understand, Ana Atakalam tis a lug hat, wa asayath bidulaka hadihi al-hakika al-yom. Ana dars al-luga al-arabiya limadat sanatain, wa ana atachin kawaidaha wa muftaiche. Complete silence filled the office. I observed Rashid's expression change from entertainment to bewilderment to something resembling terror. The Arabic flowing from my son's mouth was sophisticated, grammatically flawless, delivered with genuine mastery. How? Rashid's voice emerged barely audible. How did you learn to speak like that? The Bronx Public Library offers free language immersion classes every afternoon, Marcus answered. Native speakers from 15 different countries volunteer as instructors. Mrs. Farah from Syria has been my Arabic teacher for 2 years. I stared at my son as if seeing him for the first time. Every afternoon. For 2 years. While I thought he was playing games, he'd been studying with Syrian refugees. Rashid examined Marcus with new eyes. Anyone can memorize sentences, he said without confidence. True fluency requires years of education, cultural immersion that you cannot get from some library program. You're completely right, sir, Marcus agreed calmly. That's why I brought proof. Marcus opened his backpack and extracted papers that nearly stopped my heart. An official language proficiency certificate from Columbia University, showing advanced fluency in Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish, with high intermediate ratings in 6 other languages. This cannot be real, Rashid gasped, examining the watermarked paper with official seals. This shows you took these tests 6 months ago at 13 years old. 13 and 6 months, Marcus corrected, producing more documents. Certificate from the Advanced International Communications Program. Online simultaneous translation course completion. Rashid's hands trembled examining each authentic document with official stamps and signatures. Would you like further demonstration? Marcus asked, opening his tablet and connecting to a video call before Rashid could respond. An elderly Chinese woman appeared on screen in a university office. Professor Chen, Marcus said, then began speaking fluent Mandarin, rapid, complex, filled with business terminology that flowed naturally. Rashid stood frozen, listening to my 14-year-old conduct sophisticated conversation in one of the world's most difficult languages. The professor switched to English. Mr. Kassem. I am Dr. Li Wei Chen, professor at Beijing Foreign Studies University. Marcus has been our most exceptional student in 15 years. His Mandarin equals a native Beijing speaker. We've invited him to our intensive summer program. Professor Chen, I found my voice. I'm Marcus's father. I had no idea he was doing any of this. She smiled warmly. Your son contacted us 18 months ago. His assessment scores were so high we thought there was an error. Marcus specializes in Arabic Chinese business interpretation. Fortune 500 companies request interpreters with his expertise. Rashid terminated the call, face drained of color. Jerome, did you know any of this? I shook my head. I knew Marcus was smart, always reading. But working 60 hours a week just to survive, I had no idea. 3 years, Marcus said quietly. I started at 11 when Dad lost his second job during the pandemic and I transferred from private school back to public. The classes were too easy, so I used my time to build my own education. The memory hit me like a blow. When I couldn't afford St. Catherine's tuition anymore, I felt like I was stealing his future. But why languages? Rashid asked with genuine curiosity. Because when you speak to people in their native language, they see you as intelligent instead of different. Language is universal proof of capability. The observation struck Rashid visibly. He actually stepped backward. Plus, Marcus added, knowing languages provides opportunities money can't buy. Rich kids get tutors, but they can't buy the hunger that drives you to spend 3 hours daily at the library for 3 years. 3 hours daily? I asked, amazed. Every day after school, 3 to 6 p.m. Weekends I did online courses. Summer breaks, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I felt crushing guilt. While working myself to death, my son had educated himself beyond anything I could provide. Marcus, Rashid said slowly, you're 14. Even if this is all real, you're still just a child. What do you plan to do with these abilities? Marcus smiled confidently. That depends on you, Mr. Kassem. I didn't come here by accident. Both Rashid and I stared at him. I've been monitoring your business calls for months, Marcus said calmly. Yesterday, you discussed a $50 million UAE infrastructure deal. You made critical Arabic errors that probably cost you that contract. Rashid's face turned ashen. What errors? You used mubashir instead of fori for timeline urgency. Confused murahik with murahib discussing deadlines. When they asked about your iltizam to the project, you responded about intizam organization instead of commitment. I watched Rashid collapse into his chair. Those investors seemed confused, Rashid whispered. I thought it was connection problems. It wasn't the connection. Your Arabic lacks precision for high-stakes negotiations. They concluded you didn't understand their concerns. How could you know their thoughts? Rashid demanded. Marcus reached into his backpack and pulled out a digital recorder. Because I recorded your call, then contacted their Dubai office myself. I spoke with their senior negotiator in Arabic, identified as a language consultant reviewing the communication breakdown. Rashid looked shocked. You called my investors. I clarified your positions on their concerns. 30-minute Arabic conversation that probably saved your $50 million deal. The room fell silent except for Rashid's heavy breathing. But that's not the only recording, Marcus continued, placing a second recorder on the desk and pressing play. Rashid's voice filled the office. These black Americans are all the same, Jerome. Lazy, uneducated, always blaming others instead of taking responsibility. That's why I only hire Arabs and whites for important positions. You can't trust people from nothing to handle anything significant. My meek voice followed, yes, Mr. Kassem. Whatever you think is best. 5 years of racist conversations, captured in Rashid's own voice with my pathetic compliance. Where did you record this? Rashid asked barely audibly. In the elevator last Tuesday, Marcus replied emotionlessly. You were discussing hiring policies for Chicago expansion, explaining why you wouldn't promote black employees to management. That conversation was private, Rashid said desperately. New York is one-party consent. Since I was present, everything was legally recorded. Marcus pulled out another document. This is consultation summary from Rodriguez, Martinez and Kim employment law firm. I discussed systematic racial discrimination implications with them last week. Rashid read quickly, face growing paler. According to their analysis, my recordings document federal employment law violations, state anti-discrimination statutes, and potentially RICO violations. What do you want? Rashid whispered. Marcus approached the desk confidently. Choose, Mr. Kassem. Continue believing people like us are inferior, and these recordings reach every major newspaper and civil rights organization tomorrow. He paused. Or prove you learned something about intelligence and human potential today. What's the alternative? Rashid asked weakly. Marcus pulled out a thick legal document. Promote my father to facilities director at $95,000 annually with benefits. Establish a $2 million scholarship fund for gifted disadvantaged students. Hire me as senior language consultant at $75,000 yearly. You're 14. I speak 9 languages fluently, saved your $50 million deal, and demonstrated planning that surprised you completely. The contract includes performance benchmarks. If I don't generate $500,000 additional revenue in 6 months, terminate me without penalty. Rashid examined the professionally prepared contract. How do I know you won't release recordings anyway? Because unlike you, Marcus said directly, I believe people can change with proper motivation. I want to give you the opportunity to build people up instead of tearing them down. Marcus showed his phone screen. I have contact information for New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Justice Department Civil Rights Division, and 3 employment discrimination attorneys specializing in high-profile cases. He checked his watch. 3 minutes to decide before I start calling. After what felt like eternity, Rashid signed with his gold pen. Jerome, do you accept the promotion? I looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. I accept, Mr. Kassem. For the first time in years, my voice didn't sound apologetic. As we left that office, I realized my son hadn't just negotiated better jobs. He'd taught us both that intelligence, preparation, and courage could overcome any disadvantage. My 14-year-old had learned the most important languages of all: justice, strategy, and never accepting less than your worth.